Alright, so that's the end of the 10 a.m. turn 7. What do we got? There was an initial charge, very limited, by the left wing of the Danish cav. It got countercharged, and actually 2 units got knocked out as an effect of that countercharge. One, the immediate countercharge, and the second was the during the actual close combat phase. Otherwise, though, it basically just moved the line forward a little bit. They really don't want to attack. They want to get out of charge. Elsewhere on the field, what happened here? A little bit of fighting here. I don't remember what happened, but even after these guys slipped into rally, they were next to some Danes. The Danes attacked, sent them flying, and both sides are kind of trying to form up some kind of effective line. Actually, the Danes are in good shape and want to move, but they couldn't get an action to do so. Now they have a rally. They could have done more than they did. We'll move this guy at the very least. And this guy. Some of these back guys, I didn't do anything with them. They were perfectly good shape. Anyway, they want to get over and try to cover this flank. That's their big goal, because the Swedes are beginning to move into a position where they can get fire down the depth of 2 lines in grazing range. And some of that is because the Danes don't want to be up higher on that hill. Meanwhile, the Danes are also unloosing a couple of their cannons, and they actually fired at the cav. Firing at cav is kind of like, I don't know, pissing in the wind. It's really unlikely you're going to hit it, because they can avoid formation hits quite often. Firing at 2 deep infantry is pretty promising, actually. So the Danes definitely want to get moving with this formation, but they have to continue. They had to rally it or form it up better. They want to kind of wheel in order to better face the threat from the Swedes, and they really want that cav on their flank. On the other hand, the Swedes want their cav back too. End of 8, and things are still not looking great for the Swedes. By the way, if you're wondering what this is, that's a marker to indicate when this wing stops getting its bonus for pursuits. By bonus, I mean bonus to leave the board. Alright, so things opened up here initially. A little bit of movement action, no combat. Both sides are really trying to reform. They wanted to make an attack, but couldn't quite get to it. And on the third, luckily for them, action, they got 2 continuations somehow. They ended up, I think, not even rolling, because they didn't want to make the attack without going forward, without being able to recharge their batteries, as it were, after they hit. Because even if they clear this out, they've got a massive job in front of them. They just didn't trust. Over towards the center, we're seeing the cannons beginning to attack. They haven't had much impact, and the Danish cannons haven't had much either coming back. This flank's still sort of exposed, but this cav, if it could get out of rally, would be a serious threat towards any advance in that direction. This cav, on the other hand, is a little chewed up, the Swedish side, also having trouble getting out of rally, but not as sure what they can do once they get out of it. Maybe try to swing and pull these guys off with a flank maneuver. Luckily, the infantry has a couple of cav protecting its flank facing those cav. But outside of that, it looks pretty questionable for the Swedes. I mean, just look at the numbers on the board. Look at this mass. Those are not all bad units. I see some 8 morale units in there with artillery stacked with them. That's not going to be easy to take out. So here in the 9th turn, we saw both infantry formations move already, in the sense that the Danes kind of spread out a little bit. We saw a little bit of fire. That's about it. However, right now, we're seeing that right-wing cavalry executing a charge. And this is the beginning setup of it, just slamming into the Danes wherever they can. They want to see if they can put some threat on the Danish left flank. Well, that charge was so-so. There certainly was some failure where units like this got repulsed. But largely, we see that the Danish wing has been knocked back. However, one of the units routed here. The Swedes who moved into here, before they could finish their pursuit roll, were just decimated by that heavy infantry that they ran in front of. I think I'm playing that right. I think they get a shot before the pursuit roll takes place. Alright, let's see if there's a continuation. And there is not. And we're just going to... Okay, now it's 11 a.m. End of turn 9. This Danish wing is pretty much in full retreat. Leaders back here. Even if the individual combats didn't go all that well for the Swedes, the overall situation has just put that Danish unit into such questionable position that they want to pull back and reform where it's safe. Of course, that kind of leaves the infantry on its own against the cav. We might see some hedgehogs coming up over there. Over on this side, the rally, they couldn't pull out of it. They're still kind of mingling about. They're in perfectly good shape. They just haven't gotten out of it yet. Now, over here, on the right wing of the Danish line, they're beginning to push forward. They've moved out of rally into receive charge. They're very cautiously positioning themselves. This guy's the exception. What happened was there were a couple of Danish units stuck back here. One of them tried to reform and got smacked in the ass by this guy. But then this one, who was also located pretty much where he advanced to, attacked back, destroyed him, and came charging forward. And on to turn 11. Well, Swedish left wing still won't come out of rally. Granted, I'm trying to put them right into charge. That's hard to do. But that's the opportunity I need right now, unfortunately. The Danish right managed to get itself entangled in some cav fighting down here. Now, the end result of that appears to be everything's dead. The 2 cav that were here and the 2 units here. Now, I think maybe the Danes chased somebody off map. I don't really remember. Artillery fire is beginning to show some slight effects. Morale checks on the guns. It's really not that effective, though, in general in this game. So you really have to come in with those pikes. And right now the situation doesn't look like that's what the Danes really want to do. For one thing, if they took a charge order, they'd have to try to attack these cav, and they don't want to do that. And unlike the situation in the previous game, this is a straight line. If I advance part of this, I do not mind one bit that I have to advance the whole line. Right? It was that weird kind of... It was that odd position that I was in that really disturbed me. And over here, well, we're seeing the Danish left still withdrawing. They took some harassment from Fersen. However, he got one of them wonderful rolls, and his unit is routed. I think this is actually a Swedish unit, yeah. Which means there was a Danish cav that got destroyed there. And we're seeing, the casualties are definitely heavier for the Swedes. And they started out with less. They don't have a chance here, but I probably should be trying to get out of here rather than fight this battle any further. I mean, I just look at this field and I say, look, I got this. Look what I'm facing. Here, okay, that's parity. Here, I've taken more casualties than I've given. Granted, I've got them on the run. So I'm going to see if the cav can be all that effective, but they don't want to face the front of those pikes. And trying to get around the back, well, by the time I do that, they got their hedgehogs up or whatever, so I just don't see it as being very likely. And the end of the 11th turn. And the game seems to be pretty much fixed at this point. What happened? Well, the shifting of the cav from the Danish right forced a hedgehog. The fire from the overwhelming comparatively fire that drove units off, knocked a gun out for now. That line is looking really, really at risk. So I pulled over the Swedish left's cav to help screen what's really going to be an attempt to try to withdraw from there. Not really something that the game is terribly designed for, but my feeling is I want to leave the field at this point. I want to see if I can save my army. Whether or not that means falling back to a more defensible position, maybe where I control the ridge line or some walls, or just try to get them off the map. Whatever works. The primary concern at this point for the Swedes is to get out of here, and I'll make up some rules to get them off the map if it looks like they can. If it doesn't look like they can, they're going to try to find a place where they're safer than they are. Right now, though, it looks like they'd be destroyed if they stayed where they are. Over on the right flank, I don't know if I caught this turn or last. The cav basically fell apart and pulled back, mainly because he rallied the unit rather than letting it go. There was one cav unit left here. These guys went into charge mode to finish it off. It actually had a little bit of a say. It had made an attack against the unit Christian sitting on top of there, which it routed and had to be saved. But for one thing, until the Swedes can get their entire force to where it can operate together, not one wing way out here, one over here, and one kind of isolated, they can't even be safe on the field. So definitely some sort of reordering of the army needs to be done at this point. I'll keep playing it out. I like to see things, how they develop, especially when they're a little different from what the game's normally supposed to handle. And I'll send this one up because it's about long enough.